It's been almost 10 years, and Grand Theft Auto 5 manages to remain as immortal as ever. As of the making of this video, both the single player and online are available to play on Game Pass. We're taking a look on Xbox Series S, and this review will be spoiler free. So, for the few people that have never played it, and the ones who clicked on this video in consideration of a return to Los Santos, we're here to let you know if Grand Theft Auto 5 is still worth your time 10 years later. Rockstar never miss, huh? Grand Theft Auto 5 remains one of the most engaging open worlds out there, but when the restrictions come, they're severe. Let's start with the stars of the show. GTA 5 has 3 main playable characters: retired career criminal Michael, new kid on the block Franklin, and Trevor, your average GTA player. The core gameplay for everyone's the same: drive to a place, shoot some dudes, cause general tomfoolery, but each character has their own spin applied. Michael's missions are more government and family focused, Franklin takes on the street gangs and assassinations, and Trevor sorts his problems in his own special way. And then everyone comes together for the crown jewel of the game, the heists. Grand Theft Auto 5 does manage a great deal of variety in its missions, but they all boil down to either driving or shooting. Don't get me wrong, the missions are still fun. You'll be speeding down the highway chasing a runaway yacht, or fighting out of a tense setup, but there are a few duds thrown in, like working for a tow truck company for a day. Riveting. The heists shake things up a bit by giving the player a lot more control. You choose the method, you choose the crew, and you do the prep work. I really love the build up because when the big day comes, things actually get a little tense as you're rushing around to get the biggest score. The heists also do a fantastic job of combining all the best aspects of the gameplay. The first one will see you sneaking in, then getting into a bike chase before switching over to Michael to use a truck as a battering ram. They're great scripted sequences that have a lot of variety in a short period of time. Speaking of, being able to switch between characters at a whim is wonderful for gameplay variety. Bored of the city? Well, switch to Trevor in the desert. You always get dropped into whatever the characters were doing, and it helps create a more tangible world. Los Santos itself remains a great open world, it simply feels alive, and the plethora of random events, side missions, and additional achievements will have you digging deep and being rewarded for your keen eye. I do also love that outside of taxis, there is no fast travel. This little barrier forces you to actually explore the world and feel more connected to it as a result. Hell, even when I used a taxi, and then later stole it because he didn't take me where I wanted to go, I discovered that you can be a taxi driver. It was a great little extra depth moment, and it got me feeling that the world was even more real. Overall, the single player is doing a lot right in terms of gameplay. The world feels alive, the missions are varied, and for the most part engaging, and the heists cap off each section of the story nicely. My only major problem is that the single player missions suffer hard from Rockstar's insistence that you play them in a very specific way. Does it really make a difference where I park? Why does the bad driver need me to stop dead in my tracks during a heist getaway in order to keep the sequence going? I know where to go. There are a lot of instances here where Rockstar keep the leash on way too tight, and it just hurts the experience, especially in the face of the freedom you're given outside of missions. Online is its own beast. Hell, you can even get it as a separate install now. I like that when you boot it up for the first time, you're given a bit of cash and a few career options. This is a good way to ease players into the experience and provide them with some way to earn decent money rather than running pot shot 50 times a day like we used to do back in 2013. The online itself is just more of the single player, but with friends and strangers, and it does a decent job at being almost whatever you want it to be. Want to just cause chaos and have cops chase you? Sure. Feel like GTA should actually be a racing game? Here you go. It's total freedom, with the only caveat being the grind, and good lord, is it a grind? It's all aged pretty well, and the online is still getting updated to this day. Grand Theft Auto 5 is still a fantastic gameplay experience all around, but the online grind and single player restrictions do unfortunately keep the gameplay score at a high 4 out of 5, rather than going all the way. We do have the benefit of a few next-gen upgrades on our side, but damn, does Los Santos still look gorgeous. The artistic direction of the world is just sublime, with a great variety of spaces, from the rundown suburbs through central LS to the Rockwood Hills and all the way up to the beaches of sandy shores. There's not a square meter here that isn't simply wonderful to look at. Rockstar have always been great at this, and Los Santos has aged like a fine wine. Sound design is also a home run, engines roar, each weapon sounds great to fire, if lacking in a little bit of punch, and there's plenty of world sound to bring everything to life. Pedestrians shout, police whiz by with sirens blaring, and the radio is full of fun advertisements to fill the dead air. The OST is better than average, but not great. It does a good job of enhancing the scenes it needs to, but doesn't really push the boat out. The licensed songs are wonderful. There's a radio station for almost every genre, with Los Santos Rock Radio being the best one. Fight me. And on PC, you can even put together custom radio stations. The only aspect of art direction that hasn't aged so well are the animations. These weapon animations look honestly terrible and lack any sort of feel for actually shooting a gun. It's a little bit baffling that Rockstar have not updated these at all. Character animations are a mixed bag. Body animations are solid. The entire cast have great motion to emphasize emotion, but the facial animations are just rough. The voice actors are absolutely giving it their all. I can hear it, but those performances unfortunately aren't being translated to the faces of the characters. UI design is nice and clear. It is always super easy to see all of the information you need. The only exception are the blue bars in the settings menu. Overall, the art direction here has aged pretty well. Los Santos still looks fantastic, but the wrinkles are starting to show when it comes to animations. And overall, we're giving GTA 5 a 4 out of 5 for its art direction.
Give it up! I got him! I saw your face, I'll remember you.
Let's just get that online narrative out of the way first. It is perfectly serviceable for the freedom the game is offering. It does just enough to give the world some context. Now, onto the main stuff. Grand Theft Auto 5 has great writing, but the overall plot is a bit of a mess. The opening of the game is very strong though. You're dropped straight into everything going wrong for Michael, then flung forward 10 years. From there, you're introduced to Los Santos as Franklin, and slowly but surely everyone's storylines converge. The whole getting the gang together portion of the story is great, but once that happens, a lot of the overall structure of the plot feels very samey. You're all going to do one last job, and then you're out of the game for good, except now you got to pay back this guy, so it's one last job, and then you're done. You're done for good, I promise, except now the federal agent has dirt on you, so it's one last job. Thankfully, character writing is on point. Michael feels like a man trying to run away from the life he secretly loves in order to be as close to normal. Franklin has skills, but it's not until he meets Michael that he can actually put them to some good use. And Trevor, under all of his craziness, just hurts. The dialogue between everyone is great, and I really get the sense that these people have known each other for years and have actually got a history together. Of course, this is all helped by some fantastic performances by the voice actors. The standouts easily being Steve Ogg as Trevor and Ned Luke as Michael. These guys were giving it their all, and it absolutely shows across the whole game. There is obviously the dynamic narrative element that comes with open world games. GTA 5 gives you plenty of tools to make water cooler moments, and they always manage to feel special, but the real gem of the narrative is the world building. Los Santos plays great, looks and sounds great, but most importantly, it's written like a real place. Ads on the radio are parodies, but looking back, they almost feel ahead of their time. And at the end of the day, Los Santos feels like it was inhabited before you arrived, and will continue to take over once you've left. Overall, we've got a serviceable online narrative, with the single player being a bit of a mixed bag. The character writing, introduction and world building are phenomenal, but the actual plot is a bit repetitive. Everything here is wrapping up into a solid 4 out of 5.
You are out of business. The Lost MC are out of business. The guns and crank in this area go through Trevor Phillips Enterprise, or they ain't going.
Grand Theft Auto 5 is a massive content offering, with a decent selection of settings, and is mostly technically sound. The only bug I encountered in the single player was this lighting bug. It at least looked interesting. For online, I was unable to migrate my level 40-ish character from the previous edition of the game. Rockstar managed to pull over all of my social club data, but not my character, so that was fun. Content-wise, you're getting all of Los Santos to explore across both modes, filled to the brim with missions, heist, collectibles, cars, guns, you name it, it's here to play with. Single player has unlimited save slots, you just need to manage them yourself and make sure that you're not over-saving something you didn't mean to. Online allows you to create 2 unique characters. Settings wise, you can view controller presets. Targeting and sprint mode can be adjusted. Controller vibration can be toggled, as can invert look. You can adjust your control type for both first and third person. Controls are not fully remappable on console. Aiming and look around sensitivity both have separate sliders for first and third person, as do look dead zone and look acceleration. You can choose to allow movement when zoomed and switch handbrake with duck/hydraulics. Drive-by control type can be adjusted. There are sliders for SFX, music volume and dialogue boost. You can choose how voice chat affects radio volume. You can choose to allow independent camera modes and adjust vehicle camera height. First person auto level camera can be toggled, and there is a field of view slider for when you're on foot. The following first person camera actions can also be toggled: ragdoll, combat roll, head bobbing, third person cover, vehicle auto center, vehicle hood, and drive-by camera relative to vehicle. You can choose between performance and fidelity mode. We played in performance. Radar and HUD can be toggled. Weapon target can be adjusted with a slider for reticle size. GPS route can be enabled. There are sliders for brightness, safe zone size, and motion blur strength. In-game depth of field and screen kill effects can be toggled. Subtitles can be enabled but have no further options. Here are what they look like in game. They are decently sized and have some shadow, but at times they can be hard to read. You can also choose between imperial and metric measurements. You can toggle notifications for phone alerts, stats alerts, crew updates, friend updates, social club, your platform store, and tool tips. You can also adjust message frequency. You can enable autosave action replay on death, choose your YouTube upload status, and enable Rockstar edited tooltips. Overall, this is a decent array of settings. There are a lot of omissions, limited control remapping, very few audio options, and a near absence of accessibility settings. You are, however, getting a lot of content, and for the most part, it is polished. The specs here are wrapping up into an average 3 out of 5.
Your cousin! Fuck! He's come to visit you, you rude. Now get up off the floor and fix me a fucking drink.
It's going to take you around 30 hours to beat the story mode of GTA 5, and if you're going for 100%, expect that time to easily double. I do think that the single player does a good job of justifying its standard runtime. The missions are varied enough, and the story pushes ever forward. The only gripe here is that Rockstar's insistence of playing the game their way made me feel like my time was being wasted. Checkpoints are also pretty friendly, and you can save at any point. The game tells you that you have to go to a bed to save, but you can just pull up your phone to do a quick save. Online is an entirely different ballgame. Simply put, it's a grind. Things are pricey, and whilst it's nice that the game has some mercy and starts you out with some cash and a career path, I've seen far too many people go insane replaying the Cayo Perico heist. If you're going to put your time into GTA Online, I'd recommend hopping in sparingly, and when the fun stops, stop. Obviously, you can skip the grind with shark cards, although the prices for these seem pretty steep, and I'm pretty sure when we recorded this footage they were actually on sale, so in reality it's even worse. And it should be added that GTA Online is not a free-to-play game as standard. It costs about £20 and has additional microtransactions. There is also GTA Plus, the monthly subscription service that grants a few benefits like monthly money, a streetcar club, VIP cards, and 15% more cash when you buy shark cards. I just hate this. The grind, the cost, yikes. Hard drive footprint is also pretty large. On Xbox, we were being asked for 115.5 gigabytes with an additional 14 gigabytes just for save data. You cannot delete the story mode to free up room once you've completed it. Everything comes under one blanket install. If you have a data cap or slow internet, this is absolutely something to keep an eye on. So, the single player does a decent job of respecting your time, and the online is simply horrible in terms of grind and cost to skip said grind, even if the gameplay underneath is pretty fun. There is also the issue of that large hard drive footprint, and it's not looking good with a 2 out of 5 on our commitment scale.
New in town, I'm making friends, all right? A lot of friends. I mean, things could get really messy.
Grand Theft Auto 5 is still worth your time, but the cracks are finally starting to show. The single player is still great, but the steadying hand of Rockstar keeps it from feeling totally free. And the online mode is fun, but not something I could see myself putting serious time into given the grind. I'll always have fond memories of Los Santos, and coming back didn't get all of the rose tint to wash out, but we are getting to the point where, as great as this all is, it is time to look at moving on. Come on, Rockstar. It's been 10 years.